No worries.
Long time no see.
Hey, guys.
All right. Go ahead.
Do you feel like there's
1 second, please. We talked a few days ago about some of the guys that left, and last Friday we traded Curtis McDermott, and I just wanted to take a quick opportunity to talk a little bit about Curtis. He was a really important guy here, pretty special person, and his role was, he's a tough guy, right? But he showed up every day, battled hard for us, and worked every day to improve. And that was a tough one. So I just wanted to get that out of the way.
Ryan?
Sorry. Do you feel like there's a bit of a player arms race in the West, and how do you feel you stack up?
No, I guess it's fair to look at it like that, but I think every team, looks at their situation and makes their own independent, assessments based on, their cap, the prospects they have coming, their internal, draft picks, and when you're taking on some teams, we want guys in the last year of the deal. Some teams we want, we can afford to take guys with future contracts. So I think everybody assesses it differently and puts their chips where they feel it most improves their team. So it's probably fun to look at it and talk at it like that. I think there's some dangerous teams on both sides, in the East and the West. But I think everybody kind of looks at what they have to do, and there's some good teams certainly in the West, and it'll be a fun last few weeks, and then the fun season begins.
How close did you get to where you wanted to get?
I'd say pretty darn close, considering, the areas we felt we had to improve. I think we did. You could always say you want to do more, but there's the thing called the cap, and there's things called, your draft picks and your own internal assessments that you have to make, both, for now, and nothing's done in a vacuum, right? It'd be great to acquire John Doe, but if John Doe has 3 years left at $5 million, you may think he'd be a great backup goalie, but there is a cap next year too, so you got to balance all those things.
So you're satisfied, a backup goalie, for example.
Yep.
You're satisfied there.
Very much so. Yep, it's something that we've talked about, we've looked at, and I know today was a finite day, a finite calendar day, right? It's the trade deadline, but it's something we've been assessing from the fall and the winter, and just because you don't address it now doesn't mean you weren't looking at ways to try and improve things. And again, it's making decisions not in a vacuum, and what was available, what was not available, while also monitoring your own guys. And I think we're happy with what Eustace has done. And again, we talked about it the other day. 3 games doesn't make a career, 8 games doesn't make a career, but a career is made by playing games. And we've got to make that assessment. And he's going to go 1 game at a time. But between Georgiev, him, and Ivan, we feel overall pretty good.
Trenin and Duhaime, what is the thought process in those 2 acquisitions?
They're big bodies. They're battle tested. I think they make us harder to play against. We see both of them in the division a lot over the years. Brandon is a big physical guy that can skate and kill penalties. I think Trenin's a guy that brings versatility, that he can move around and do different things. Really good defensive forward. But I think if you're looking at their hallmarks of their game, it's their drive, their compete. They're hard to play against. And the grinding and the importance of that, it can't be underestimated in our opinion.
This might be a little bit of an unanswerable question, but how long does it take new guys to mesh with a team? I mean, do you expect them to hit the ground running, or does it just take some time?
I think it just depends on the guys. I mean, we've uprooted their lives, right? You make a trade, and some of them have families, some of them may have children. I think it might be seamless for some of them. For others, it might be systemic structures that takes them a few games to to fit in, but I feel really good about our, the way our coaches handle these situations, and I think, the guys in our room are really good at helping guys and being coaches themselves and helping the players adjust, not to mention this guy and Aaron DeGraff and the people behind the scenes do an incredible job to get them to the point where it's focusing on hockey as fast as possible, and hopefully they're excited about coming to our team and being excited to be a Colorado Avalanche. So I don't think there's any one set answer, but I think it could take some guys a few games, and other guys it might come snapping quicker. So.
For Duhaime and Trenin, do you look at past experiences to kind of help? Because a couple years ago, you guys didn't need to get that number 2 center that you did this year, but you brought in Sturman, Cogliano late. They both played big roles in the playoffs. Does that kind of help shape the moves you make this week?
Yeah, I don't know. I think every year is its own year, right? I think that year was a special year, and I think our guys deserve to have the chips pushed all in. I think we were looking to add some depth, right? We all see what happens. You can't have enough bodies. It's a war of attrition come the playoff time, and you still got 20-something regular season games to get to. So we felt those, the value of those players for what they can bring was pretty important. And they're competitive, hard to play against guys, and we're excited to add them to our mix. I think the biggest thing for us down with those guys is, I think Bedsy, likes having a bottom 6 as opposed to a third and fourth lines, to use conventional speak. But I think he's got in that bottom 6 now that he can play 10+ minutes a night interchangeably. And I think that's where the improvement will be.
You mentioned the gap beyond this. How do you feel about the ability to make Casey Mittelstadt fit here beyond the season?
We'll dive into that. It's certainly something that we do an assessment on before we do any type of transaction like that, where he has arbitration rights, and that'll take care of itself, once we get through the rigors of the rest of the regular season, the playoffs. But it's something that we certainly we didn't just do it and without sort of glancing at what that may look like. But again, his age, his upside, sort of his last 2 years certainly are we're hoping are indicative of how he's going to fit in and where he's going to go. So.
Chris,
Go ahead, Jesse, first, then Megan. Jesse.
Jesse, sorry.
No, sorry about that, Chris.
No, it's all good.
You were just talking about his age. Usually teams in your guys' situation go out and get a player that's, kind of in the back half of their career, trying to get one more kick at winning a Stanley Cup. How big was it? How excited are you guys to get a player that's 25 and still has, his prime ahead of him?
Really excited, Jesse. I mean, we traded Bo Byram for him. So we're not trading Bo Byram for a 31-year-old or a 30-year-old. We're not trading Bo Byram probably for a winger. Defensemen are really hard to get, and top 2-line centers, top 3-line, centers are really hard to get. You got to draft them, or you got to pay a big price to get them, whether that's in free agency or via trade. So the fact that we traded, a player in person of Bo's stature for Casey tells you what we think of him. We think an awful lot of him. We think he's going to have a big role here. And tonight's the start, and hopefully it'll be a good marriage. So, but we're excited to have him.
Megan.
The reigning Cup champs out in Vegas have earned a lot of conversation for how active they've been at each deadline year after year. I was curious what your view on their approach to roster construction has been as a general manager yourself.
Yeah, I think Kelly McCrimmon and then they've done an incredible job on and off the ice, and they're aggressive. They were aggressive today. I think they do what they feel is in the best interest for them, and I tip my cap to them. It's Kelly's. They do a great job.
Eric, or should I go Evan, then Eric?
Last year you talked about, you traded away a lot of draft picks previous years. You wanted to rebuild for the future, so you didn't move guys like Rich or Gudia this year. So how important was that for you to keep top prospects, to keep building towards the future?
It's a fine line, right? Our guys determine, for Joe, myself, Kevin, the staff, do they deserve to have the chips pushed in, and we think they did. Nate and these guys, they're in their prime. It's a fine line, though, and you got to make some tough decisions. Cal Ritchie is a really good prospect, and he plays a center position. He's having a great year in the Ontario Hockey League, and he's got a very bright future. We're equally as excited about Guliaev, who we took. He's played in the KHL with men all year and played a top 4 role. So these are guys that you never say never on anything if it means improving your hockey team, but those are guys that we value very, very highly and believe they have a bright future.
Couple more, Arif and Kyle.
Over the last couple of years, you guys have really dipped into those kind of to build a prospect pool, the college free agents and in Europe. Is that, number one, two-parter, something that you envision doing again here in the coming months? And number two, why do you think, in your eyes, the Ben Myers thing didn't work out here?
Benny was traded this morning, as you guys know, and we wish him the best. He's going to go to a coach that's familiar with him. I think, Ben was a guy that was knocking on the door repeatedly and is close. It wouldn't shock anyone here if he carved out a role with Anaheim, and we hope that he does. I think, and your first question on will college and junior free agency or European free agency be something? Always, it's. I think when you're, trading picks, it's a way to maybe supplement and get a prospect, i.e. Ben Myers or Sam Malinsky, who has played multiple games this year and looks like he might have a chance to carve out a role as a regular. So I think it's something that you'll do regardless, but I think when you're moving out picks, you're always looking for ways, whether it's on waivers or college free agents or junior free agents, to find a hidden gem.
Last one's Kyle.
Chris, sort of a big picture question here, but Kroenke Sports announced this week a change to their leadership structure a little bit, bringing Kevin Demoff in as the president of team operations. Just curious if you know Kevin at all, and also just describe your general relationship with team ownership.
It's awesome. They've been super supportive every year I've been here, and working with Joe, and so it's never been anything but fantastic. I've had the pleasure to meet Kevin a few times over the years. We've tapped into sort of the Rams behind the curtain a few times. I look forward to getting to know more. Brendan tipped me off that there was that big announcement yesterday, but to be honest, we've been mired in trade deadline prep and stuff for the last few weeks, but our ownership is fantastic, and I'm sure the stuff that was announced yesterday, Mike Neary and Kevin, will just continue to be first class all the way.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.